Hey folks, Jim Denham here. Created this picture last week. It's a artsy-fartsy type picture that I really enjoyed making, and I posted in one of the Facebook groups that I'm a part of, and one of the people there said, we'd really like to understand how you did this. You know, what software did you use? And how did you go about doing it? And just to show you, this is where we started from. This is just a picture from the Roaring Fork Motor and Nature Trail in the Great Smoky Mountains, and we ended up with this right here. And it's really fun, and it's not very hard. So here's what I'll show you. We'll go to the Develop module. All I've done is done some basic editing in the basic part of the Develop module in Lightroom, and then from there I exported into Photoshop. One of the things I wanted to show though is under the profile. You may not want to do this with all your landscape images because it can go a little overboard, but the color profile that Adobe has here is pretty impressive in that this is the color profile, the standard profile, but when you switch it to this Adobe landscape, it gets really punchy, really saturated. The colors really come out good. That's one of the things I think help with the separation and the blur, is it really brings out these yellows, greens, and reds. So I strongly recommend playing around with that in all of your landscapes, and that's one of the things I think worked really well here. But from here, we exported into Photoshop, and here we are. And it's going to be really simple from here. I'm going to duplicate the layer, which you can do in a couple of different ways. I use the Shift key, or I use the keystroke Command J to create a new layer so that we don't destroy the background. And then it's just as simple as going to Filter, Blur, Motion Blur. Okay, and here it's just really kind of taste, but I like to, with this particular image, I wanted to bump it up pretty good. You can take it however far you want, but I always put this at straight up and down 6 o'clock, the angle at 90 degrees, to where all of your blurage is up and down, so it gives that linear up and down look. And then I hit OK. And then all I do is do it again. And it'll change it a little bit, and then I'll do it again. And what you get is you get this layered upon layered look with the motion blur that gives it a little bit of depth. So that's probably as far as I want to go with this, but you can see what it's done is it's taken this beautiful landscape image, and it's really took those lines that those trees created and brought the colors in around it. Really beautiful. But from there, you just create a new layer, and for this one I'll hit Shift, Option, Command E, which will create a new layer. And then from there I'll just monkey around with the contrast to get it to where I want it. Or in this really helps bring out some of that some of the colors as well, and the depth. I mean, it's up to you how you want to do it, but from here you're just editing to your liking. And then what I'll do from here, once I get this where I want it, I'll save it back to Lightroom. There we go. We'll minimize that. We'll go back to Lightroom, and here's the image as it came from Photoshop. Now, all I'm doing is fine-tuning from here. I'll probably create, increase the clarity so that you can see some of those darks separated from the lights. Maybe even a little dehaze to bring a little detail. And then I'll up the vibrance, and then even up the contrast a little bit more. Now, this won't look exactly like the one that I produced the other day, but you can see this is where you're going. You're just going to your taste at this point. And so one of the things I did, because I really like this light coming through the back, I used a radial mask, and I set it up right in the middle, and I changed it to invert, and then I really upped the exposure, and I increased the highlights and the whites to make it give that more of a light glow through there. Yeah, so you can do that. There you go. You really crank up the exposure. It kind of looks like a glow through there. And then I'll duplicate that. And when I duplicate it, I will hit the invert button again, reduce the effects, and then I'll create a little bit of a vignette and start opening it up a little bit so it's not quite as dark all the way around it. But you can see you can play around with this all you want. But that's really essentially all I did. Now, like I said, this doesn't look exactly how I created the other one. The other one will look, let's see, right here. So it's not too far off. Just a little bit different. But there you go. That's all it really is. It's just using the motion blur over and over again in Photoshop until you get it where you like it. Bring it back into Lightroom. Edit the contrast, detail, color, whatever you want to suit your liking. At that point, it's an art piece, right? And art pieces are very much whatever your taste is, whatever you see in it. How much depth you want in it. You can even go in and dodge and burn some of it to make it look the way you want to. But that's essentially it. We're just playing around with some motion blur in Photoshop to create this image. You got any questions or comments? Please leave them down below, and I'll get back to them. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you later.